At the end of the day, it saves more money because what does a work requirement do? Instead of borrowing money from China to pay somebody to sit on the couch, we now give them the process to go get a job. Every study has shown when you do that, it puts more people to work. And when they work, what happens? More people are paying into Social Security and Medicare.
It's just undue hardship. It's sick, it's cruel, and all it does is satisfy the Republican Party's need to punish someone. Now, Lily Roberts, writing for the Center for American Progress earlier this year, said that work requirements for welfare end up costing more than it saves. Work requirements for welfare end up costing more than it saves. Well, of course it does. And it creates the very thing Republicans purport to hate the most, layer upon layer of bureaucracy. She writes that Arkansas in 2018 insisted that recipients of Medicaid find work. But that didn't increase the number of people working. 16,000 residents of Arkansas lost their health care coverage because they couldn't find work, and they were left to die. Let me repeat. Austerity, because we don't tax the rich, 16,000 residents of Arkansas lost their Medicaid and were left to die. And the experiment ended up costing the state of Arkansas, as well as the federal government, $26 million. Why? It cost $26 million to implement the procedure of forcing people who need Medicaid to work. You got to keep track of these people, make sure they're working. All that newly created paperwork cost Arkansas $26 million. And employment, nobody found work. At the time, Arkansas's Republican governor was Asa Hutchinson, who is now running for president. He's challenging Donald Trump as the more moderate, kinder, and gentler Republican. 16,000 residents of Arkansas lost their Medicaid because of Asa Hutchinson. Iowa is now implementing, this is my favorite. You're going to love this. Iowa is now implementing work requirements in order to receive food stamps. It is estimated the bureaucracy created to administer these work requirements will cost 2.5 times more than the food stamps. Do you mind if I repeat that 1,000 more times? It is estimated the bureaucracy Iowa created to administer work requirements for food stamps will end up costing Iowa 2.5 times more than the food stamps. This is what Kevin McCarthy has put on the table in the debt ceiling talks, making people work for food stamps and Medicaid. He is proposing that in order to bring down the debt, we spend more on punishing needy people than on what it costs to give them a helping hand. It's cheaper to help people. I wish I was making all this up. I really do. Republican policy isn't about cutting deficits or saving money. It never was. It's about making a handful of Americans richer by lowering their taxes. And the Republicans get away with this by satisfying the bloodlust of financially illiterate Republican voters who want to punish someone, anyone, even when it's themselves. And this works out perfectly for both parties. Republicans get to win elections by appearing cruel, and Democrats get to win elections by appearing kind, right? By June 1st, the brinkmanship will end, and we know the debt ceiling will be raised. We're not going to default on our debt because the wealthiest 5 families in America would lose a little money. What's going to happen is Biden will call it a win on June 1st because he's the good guy who prevented work requirements for food stamps and Medicaid, because that's not who we are. And we'll go, oh, I like him. He's looking out for the poor. He saved food stamps and Medicaid when food stamps and Medicaid should never, ever have been on the table. Democrats need the Republicans to put food stamps and Medicaid on the table. And Republicans will call it a win because they demonized the weak and terrorized the poor. It's a win-win. But neither party will behave responsibly by going up against their Wall Street donors and getting rid of those Trump tax cuts that will cost us $3.3 trillion. We're going to add $3.3 trillion to our debt because we won't get rid of the Trump tax cuts. So all of this, everybody's terrified. We're going to default. It's man-made. More man-made than climate change. It's political posturing. And yes, I do agree the debt ceiling is too high. I do agree that America must live within its means. Don't spend money, America, that you don't have. But that doesn't mean that we cut spending. It means taxing billionaires out of existence. And we can start getting rid of billionaires by getting rid of the Trump tax cuts.